Boom.
Oh, hey.
Hey. Hey, Josh. How you doing? Welcome,
Good, man.
everyone. Hey, did you know this was our 50th stream? I don't know if I
No.
mentioned that.
Nice. I feel honored being the 50th. Well, technically the 49th guest, I would say, or the 48th guest. I don't care. I'm on the 50th.
I did like, I want to say like 30 all by myself. So you're not like the 50th guest, but you are the guest on the 50th episode.
That's how it works. By the
There you
way,
go.
thank you for the background. I did it myself. No, I didn't. I actually got it working this time. But the problem is, you see that I got to work on my feathering.
Yeah. Did you use
Oh, well.
what did you do in OBS for the filter? Did you use the alpha or did you use the color one?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh,
There's
okay.
there's a chroma key filter
Okay.
to get that one out.
Gotcha.
And then so that removes the background. Ooh. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
I see it already. No.
That's what happened to me, dude. When I was doing mine, like I'd get holes in my head on the shiny parts of my head.
Yeah. What happens when I don't have like the stylish hair? Apparently that covers up the bald spots that I have. But no, so yeah, so the problem is also too there's the cropping effect. No, all right. But
Nice.
or at least so I use chroma key to just eliminate the background, and then the base layer is just as background.
Okay.
So I just plop my camera on top of it, boom, bam. Now you have this fun background style.
Very cool. Yeah, I was messing around with OBS trying to get my stuff. I've got the famous failed green screen in the back here. I've got it. I think it'll work. I have to like iron it out or straighten it out a little bit more. It's like nailed to my wall right now. So I just need to like get a little more taut. Yeah, me and my wife were just like, we got this for like $10 on Amazon. We're like, we'll just put it up, it'll work. Nope. Gotta do you have like lighting for yours? For your green screen?
Well, no. So
I heard the thing you want to do is put like a light like behind you, pointed at the green screen to get it consistently colored.
You need consistent color for the backlight. So that's your fill light. I think that's the appropriate terminology. So that's your background light, and then you need appropriate key light for your face. I mean, and Brandon, I can stream from the void if I just do something like this.
Nice.
Oh, wait, no. There we go.
I'm still just streaming from my room. Oh, nice! Look at that transition. That was awesome.
It's like I'm a professional streamer.
I know. So I was going to ask you about this because it seems like the production value on your stream is like really, really good.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It looks really good, but it seems like you got like a pack or something. Like I'd be very impressed if you did it all yourself.
Oh yeah. My entire rig is about $200, $225, something like that. So the green screen was maybe like $100. Comes with their own stand, so that way I don't have to nail it to the wall like you did. There's actually properly stands, and I have 2 key lights right in front of me. They're not on right now, but they usually.
I'm not good enough for a key light, Josh.
Apparently not. No, it's just my face is sweaty as well as very, very reflective. So I need to play with a light, as well as I'm using my apartment. There's like a light track that so I can actually rotate the light so it's bouncing off the wall to fill out the background.
Yeah. Brandon says you've got a baller setup going on.
Am I going to show my tweet? I think I posted on Twitter.
You want to share your screen?
Yeah. 1 second. Let me see if I can find it.
Sure.
So, StreamYard, boop boop, and share. Yes, I'm okay with that. Sharing that. So there's the background.
Nice.
And then
I like the whiteboard there too. That's pretty cool.
That way I can actually write to it instead of just guessing at it. And then apparently I don't have a picture of that. All right. So and then there's just 2 key lights right there. But that's pretty much my setup.
Cool. Very nice, man. So Corbin's asking, how are you hosting your video through OBS? How does that work?
So if you have the latest version, so OBS released a major version 26 a couple weeks ago, last week or something like that. They have the ability to do virtual camera. So let me go ahead and do that. I don't mind sharing my screen on this. It's just there's going to be infinite Josh.
That'll be fun.
So there's no infinite Josh. Okay. There's just 3 of me.
Just triple.
Yeah. Because 3 is really what you need in your life. So the latest version, if you look at like start stream and recording stream, and I'm not sure if I can't really zoom that in. Lovely. Awesome. But if you're familiar with the OBS live setup, on the bottom right hand corner, there's the like start streaming and start recording. There's also a new button that says start virtual camera, and then that becomes available as an output.
Can you do both at the same time?
Yes, you can.
Nice.
So like I can do start recording, and right now I'm recording this as we. So you could also do start streaming as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. So I was talking with Brandon, since he's here, about like some different ideas, because I really like the way StreamYard works. And like, just like you send someone a link, it's kind of up and running. You don't need to worry about anything else, which is awesome. But so Corbin's using StreamYard, Streamlabs OBS.
Come on, man.
Oh, and
gotta go to the bear.
Yeah. Does it make your audio available too? I know Brandon was like
not. So the way. Let me share my screen to do that too.
Yeah. You're just testing my hosting abilities, swapping out all this stuff. There you go. Here you
go. You need to get a what is it called? A Elgato Stream Deck, so that way you can just push button in order to do that.
I don't know. Would StreamYard? I bet I could probably figure that out.
You can just probably execute some
Selenium script.
Well, I wasn't gonna say Selenium because I figured that you're on Chrome, so you could actually use Cypress.
That would probably work.
Potentially. I don't know. But so if you go to File, if you're on Windows, because I'm on Windows, and I figure Brandon's on Ubuntu because Ubuntu. But sorry for all you Mac lovers out there.
I think he's on Mac. I don't know. Brandon, what are you on? I don't even know.
You can go from settings to audio, and there's a advanced section that says monitoring device. And I installed a virtual cable. And that's what you heard trial from the live stream. So if you guys go back to the previous archives or the previous episodes, you would sometimes hear trial. Apparently that was because I was using trial software. This is a donationware cable audio, virtual cable audio. So that way the output when you monitor a microphone goes to that as an input. And then on StreamYards, I make OBS and that virtual cable as my inputs.
Gotcha.
So now I can control everything through OBS. So I can make myself very quiet or very, very loud, depending on where I am.
Yeah. But you're not sending your audio to StreamYard, are you?
No, I'm not sending the direct mic to StreamYard. I'm sending my mic to OBS to StreamYard.
I see.
Through monitoring the output.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool.
It works for me.
Yeah. Whatever works. That's the important part. Corbin, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one, man. Corbin's coming on again soon, I believe. So we're still working that out. But looking forward to having Corbin back in ZLS. Back where he belongs. Back where you all belong.
Now I'm just a floating head. I
know. I don't like the black. Can you go back to the to the rainbow?
To my generic background.
Yeah, I like that. This is such a more happier, brighter, vibrant Josh. I feel like.
I mean, like regardless of where I am, I try to be positive.
Yeah. And Brandon, 100% on this. Like being able to with the setup stuff I have, where you can just send someone that link or a calendar invite with the link, makes it so much nicer. Unless it's someone like Josh, and then I just DM Josh the link right before we start.
I'm a professional, people.
There we go. There we go. So yeah, I was talking with Brandon last week, I think, about this a little bit. So we had this idea of wanting to use StreamYard. And we're just going to like do everything through StreamYard, but then have OBS running and use StreamYard as like a browser source and just crop out the piece of it that we want to share. And I think that's pretty smart. I don't know. I guess we'll get like some pieces of this that aren't meant to be on there, like the little live signal and the little button, but it's probably livable. So
yeah, I mean,
all this stuff is so janky, man. It's not what I expected. I expected like, okay, we get the RMTP feed like right into OBS, and then that's how like we can recreate Zoom that way. But no one does it that way. I don't even know if you can do it that way.
So on my stream, or I think as part of a stream a while back. So for people that don't know me, not only am I the Angler Magician, which is why I have a deck of cards in my hand right now, because
where'd that deck of cards from? You know how I feel about magicians, Josh. Very hostile.
Very hostile, like Jerry Seinfeld. Okay, got it. So not only am I known as the Angler Magician, but I like to play with things. And my first stream, or my first series of streams, was playing Fall Guys, because I'm also a gamer. I mean, you're on Twitch. Why not become a gamer? Yeah. But the way I did it was because I only have my Dell XPS 15. I stream everything and play video games off of it. So either the way I usually play video games. So right now I'm playing Medieval, because it's spooky season. So that's a very, very classic PlayStation 1 game. So I figured play that. Plus it fits the environment. So because I only have my Dell XPS, it's not as powerful if I want to play like some PC games. I can do like Among Us and some basic games, but I can't do like Crisis or any of that type of stuff. So what I did was I stood up an AWS Windows server and made that as a source. And I installed like a NGX server to publish to my local environment.
So you made your own personal Stadia platform.
Yes,
is what you're telling me.
Exactly.
Nice. I can respect that.
Because I threw on 128 gigabits of RAMs and 32 V cores, because I could, and it was using the NVIDIA chipset, because I know AWS, so I did that. So yeah, you had to have. So that became a. I don't want to say it was pushing to my server, or pushing to my local network. My computer through OBS was pushing, or was attaching to that URL. There was just a server sitting on there that it was just listening to.
Nice.
So I did. That's how I played Fall Guys. I played Fall Guys on AWS.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Because why not?
It's the perks of doing this stuff. So I wanted to talk about Brandon's stuff a little bit here. Let me throw up this so that people know. All the masses go follow Brandon and go follow Josh too. It's all in there. It's all in the chat. Just click over there. But Brandon was doing something for a while, and I thought this was genius, where he was like working on this Angular overlay app. So the way it would work, you just pass it in as like you just serve it locally, I believe. Brandon, correct me if I'm saying it wrong. But he'd run it locally. He'd like just filter out white as being like filter that color out. And then you just overlay, you take that app and you just put it inside of your OBS, so that when you hear something coming out of the Twitch webhooks, you can just like say, someone followed you or stuff like that.
So Fun fact: OBS uses Chromium embedded view as the browser source. So if everyone is familiar with Chromium, if you want to use Chromium, there you go.
Cool.
But the one modification that they actually did is part of the base HTML styles is they made the background transparent.
Oh,
so
okay.
So you don't.
It's not that you need to filter out white. You can just do whatever, and that way you can still pop up some white stuff up.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's really cool. But so this was the genius of the move, though. Brandon was doing it live and saying, "Okay, someone donate some money so I can see that works." I was like, "That's so brilliant."
That's a great way in order to get subscribers or follows or whatever.
Yeah. I've got to mess with it. Yeah, Brandon sent me the link. I've got it around here somewhere, but yeah, it's just crowd participation. yeah, Brandon, if you want to send the link too, I'll highlight that as well. I can't get to it right now, but I think Brandon's got like an open source project out there that'll just work. You can work off it as like a starter. So, yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, that's one of the things I've been meaning to do is getting more into that. See if maybe I could get some subscribers. Are you so Josh? Last time we talked, you still hadn't gotten to affiliate yet. Is that right?
That is correct.
Are you still out on it? Are you still waiting on it?
That is correct.
How close are you? How close are you? You got to be close. Right?
2.8.
Okay.
So hopefully soon. Though this
pretty much there. I mean, that's just a rounding error at the moment.
I mean, if you ask any accountant, they would have been perfectly fine with me just rounding me up to 3.0.
Exactly.
But apparently, from a Twitch standpoint, they're already doing the average, so you can't round that, or you shouldn't round that. Oh well.
Yeah. So one thing I've noticed just running the ZLS stuff, I feel like. So just running the stream, it seems very random, almost. Like sometimes I think I'm gonna have like a really good showing, and like it's just me, and then other times I'm like, I don't know if this is a good idea or not, and then like everyone shows up. It's like I don't know. Do you get that? Do you get that too when you do your streaming, or? It just seems random to me. That's the point I'm trying to get at. When I
get it quite often. At least for me, I have a kind of a mixed audience. So last sprint, yes. Last stream.
Don't talk about the sprints here. We're in a safe place.
Well, I'm doing my burn down chart to figure out the my average viewership. Anyways, no. So last stream I mentioned that I'm building a Minecraft server, and this Minecraft server I'm building it for a YouTuber, a fairly big YouTuber. He has around 100,000 subscribers, I believe. Probably even more than, or definitely more than that. I just don't remember exactly the number. So because I'm building the server, and my whole goal is I want to build it very, very transparently for everyone else to see what's going on inside the server. He gave me the permission that I can actually blast in his Discord whenever I go live, but he never really specified if I can use that for my own streams or for specifically streams for that Minecraft server. So normally I keep that kind of consistent with, if I'm going to build something for the community, I will do that. I will post it in the stream. Even when I do that, I think more people are probably looking for people that are playing Minecraft than trying to build the technology associated to it. So
I think there's probably some overlap there. Like it's probably worth doing. But I think you're probably right. Like the bulk of the people, it's not like the cohort you're looking for, right? Yeah,
but the reason why I do it isn't so much to get the viewership. Yes, I would like to be an affiliate. So for anybody that loves me, and I'm making sure that people will say they love me, they will watch my stream. Please watch my stream. But no, it's more of because I have you and Brandon and some other fairly big names in the Angular ecosystem, and potentially people that are in high school or in college, maybe looking to become a computer science or a computer engineer or whatever, they kind of have this nice melting pot of my stream to potentially learn some stuff they never thought about. And that also helps me out because my biggest thing about storytelling generally, especially as a magician, you gotta build a common denominator for everyone to actually understand. Because if you can't deliver the appropriate story, there's no reason to write the code. Because if you can't get the business sign off, then they're not going to allow you to write that code.
Right.
So
makes sense. But yeah, I threw up the Angular Discord link.
Yes.
Make sure if you're watching this, make sure you join up on that, because it's I don't know, it's a pretty cool community. I always think whenever I see like one of these massive Discords, I'm always like, man, I'm glad I don't have to be managing that.
Yeah.
This is like a headache. But very grateful to B-Man and who's the other guy that set it up? I'm forgetting his name. Oh, I feel bad, but I'm not remembering his name. But he's awesome. So thank you for monitoring it. And yeah, Steve.
I forget his last name though.
Yeah, me too.
They just really had Misco on. Or,
oh yeah,
yeah. They did a Q&A.
They've got several people from the core team now.
Yes,
and I think they've got all the NGRX folk. Pretty much. I don't know. Maybe. I think I've seen Brandon in there. I'm not sure. Brandon, if you're still watching, let us know if you're in there or not. And if not, go ahead and join. But they let you blast out there too. They've got a little thing for it. So I try to do that. I don't know. I feel like I'm still feeling out what my live stream is. I feel like for me, what I want to get out of it is having good conversations like this, and that's my biggest thing. So the live coding, I definitely enjoy, but there's something about it that I don't know. To do it properly, I feel it takes a lot of time preparation, right? Like you want to have something sort of prepared so you can walk through. Otherwise, you get. Otherwise, I get into like this two brain mode that doesn't work well. Just because I'm not focused very well, and trying to do all the stuff a host would do, and also trying to code and think through problems. It's rough.
Yeah, especially so for me, who's so when I first started off the Minecraft server, I mean, who really says that they're going to one day build a Minecraft server? And there's so much documentation that you have to read in order to just understand what's going on. Fun fact, for the most part, is running in Java. So that's good for me.
Oh, running in Java. That's the whole thing, man.
Right.
I remember in college, we did a lot of stuff in Java, and just like, why can't it just be a simple command line thing? Like, I know there is a command line thing, but like to get it working right and to get the proper JVM working and all that stuff, it's a whole bunch of crap. I never.
A lot of magic strings.
Yeah, a lot of magic strings. And I guess it's just once you find the right one, just hang on to it. Pray it doesn't
never touch it again. You committed to the Docker image and never question it again.
I just hate that though.
Yes.
I don't know. Part of what I like so much about NX is I feel like you get the whole picture, and the Angular CLI is extremely good at this too, which NX kind of takes its cue from. It's just like there is some magic going on there, but it's magic that I don't know. I don't want to understand. Like just to run a Java program, I feel like I should know what that does.
Yes. But you could do default logic inside of interfaces now. You can do some abstract stuff where previously if you would ask anybody before 1.8 in Java, they were like, no, interfaces are meant to be contracts between stuff, so you can do composition instead of you can do inheritance. But now is because we have the ability to do multiple interfaces, I'm going to start adding default logic inside of that interface. Yeah. Oh well. At least for me, most of it has just been because I'm probably more deeper in the weeds of the CLI than probably the most average Angular developer. Like I'm looking at schematics, I'm looking at builders, I'm looking at some of that stuff there. There's definitely a lot more magic in there that I just don't understand, and that could just be TypeScript itself because of the AST, or it's just I'm not asking the right question that should be answered because I just don't know my way around the area.
Yeah. So I've gone splunking inside of that stuff a couple times too. So have you like gone through the process of writing your own schematics? Like,
yeah. Okay. Well, at least partially, and on my stream because
nice.
I was building dynamic form. One of the things I wanted to add to dynamic forms was a schematic to generate new form elements.
That's cool.
Because the way that I'm doing injecting the new form controls for this system is I'm injecting through the injection token. So I have a multiple injector token is that the service is looking for if there's any service or any injection or any modules that has that injection token, there's that component. So that way you could just do that mapping there. So it's kind of built in a way that's the O in solid open close paradigm. Because you don't have to go in and change the code or change the library, you just have to provide the injection token. But then how do you explain to people how to do that? Yeah, you can write in documentation, but documentation is usually weak and never up to date.
It goes over the first time you make a change, and you forget to update it because nothing's new.
So you'd rather write something that can automate that. Not to say that documentation isn't bad. It's just the easy turnaround is usually documentation. The better developer experience, though, is probably using something like schematics in order to generate that stuff.
Yeah, as long as people know how to use it.
Yeah.
Which can be difficult sometimes too. But NX workspace schematics help with that. Did you do the workspace schematics or did you write the regular one?
No, no, I wasn't gonna. This whole Dynamic Forms apps is written with NX. Because I have access to NX, I'm going to use the NX library as much as I can because I don't want to write my own.
So much easier. Yeah, and you don't got to mess with building it or doing all those other manual weird steps.
Fetch me the workspace JSON file.
Just do it. Just do it.
Right.
Don't make me build it and then do it. Just do it.
No,
That's what you really get from it or from NX. But you also get now whenever you go into the NX plugin, as soon as you create it, you see it pop up as soon as you go into your generate, which is super cool. So as long as people know to do that, that's the tricky part.
My biggest thing is I had to talk to our good old friend Mike Hardington to figure out how to do ng new schematics because that's not documented anywhere.
Yeah.
And actually, I have a Medium post that I've been writing for the past, I don't know, year at this point that I haven't finished up because there's always new and fun and shiny toys to play with.
Man, isn't that just the way?
Yeah. And that one has some magic properties associated to it, which no one has anything documented about it.
Well, so I've done a fair amount with schematics now, but I've always done it with like string manipulation, which is, it's all right. It works for some use cases. It's pretty easy. Like it's easy, but it's not. It's a worse solution, I think, overall, than if you can actually get into the AST stuff. But that's hard, or that's hard. It's probably by far the better solution though. So it is what it is. I think you can get pretty far with just string manipulation though.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, yeah. But then if you need to update a particular, like if you wanted to update an ng module file or a service or something like that, you got to learn AST.
Yeah. I've gotten into it where you can still get
some magic that I don't know about.
All you gotta do is find exports : open frac. Like it's really that. I don't know. That's what I would do sometimes. If that's all it is, if it's just adding it to your exports, that's all I'd do. So look for that. So I'd look for that. I'd put it in at the start of the array with a comma. If it didn't have it, I'd add the exports in, and then I just run prettier on the file.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
And then like everything comes out all right. And yeah, Brandon said regex. So the joke about regex I think is super true. Is problems. Yes, exactly. If you start out with a problem and you try to use regex to solve it, now you have two problems.
Yes. That's my same opinion about recursion as well.
Yeah, but so yeah, but with the AST, I don't really understand. I never really gronked how to do things that way. But like that way, you can at least say, okay, go find the. I feel like you can definitively find that exports array if it exists and add it in there instead of just looking like kind of hacking for find exports :
load in the entire file. Find this one particular string in this one specific format, regardless of where it is in the file.
Yeah. Hope that they did do something weird and put that open bracket on some other line or something crazy like that. Because then
no, not a developer.
Yeah, they got to be running prettier, right?
Sure.
There we go. But yeah.
Oh, we were talking about. But the original conversation was back to how do we be entertaining as a host, as well as
while live coding some stuff,
while trying to be live coding, and that's so for me. It's very, very difficult because I want to be as transparent to the community. Like when I'm doing Minecraft stuff, the Minecraft server stuff, I want to be as transparent as much as I can with the community that I'm building it for. So for the most part, I try not to plan as much stuff, but then you get into a dull moment of, so what do I do next?
Yeah.
And then you spend probably like a half hour, 45 minutes on stream in front of everyone that you see your viewership is going down as you try to figure this stuff out.
The API docs. Yeah.
Well, it's not even to that point. It's just what's the next piece? I know I want the system to do this. How do I get there? And that's where I'm at that point right now because I already have like so I'm building a raffle system. So this Minecraft server, for people that have ever played Minecraft before, there's some servers out there that's called that you can do like battle royale with people. So if you play Fortnite before or PUBG or any of that type of stuff, you're familiar with battle royale style games. But the owner of the server, owner to be, wants to be able to raffle out or randomly select people to join his games. So I already have that. That's just a basic get players from that's connected to the server, based on the number of people that he wants into the game, randomly connect those people to the server.
It's a classic Willy Wonka story, right? I've got the golden ticket.
Right. I'm not that quick enough in order to change the background in order to be like, but now I gotta have like a whole slew of backgrounds for me to quickly switch to. But so I figured out the basic random generator. I figured out how to make it thread safe because we're dealing with servers and multiple clients. So I figured that piece out. But then the next piece is, what do I do next after I have the results and all the stuff? What do I do next? Yeah. What other type of things do I have to fix before we can go ahead and make this live? And that's where I really want to use the whiteboard I have over here to figure that stuff out. But again, I don't want to hide that away from the audience because I think the audience should be aware of what's going on.
You need a whiteboard cam, it sounds like.
I don't think my landlord would be happy about that. But
yeah. Well, I saw this thing on Twitter somewhere where someone like used the glass screen and wrote on that like a whiteboard.
Oh.
And like so and they just flipped the video so that it appeared like it was moving forward. And that seems really cool. Not that I don't use whiteboards that much. I do use notes quite a bit. But so I could probably make the transition. But if I was getting more into stuff like that, maybe I'd go into that. But like the thing I thought you were getting into was just so I think I had a very similar case to what you're talking about, where I was working on my RPG game.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand all the Angular pieces, all the JavaScript stuff, all of that kind of stuff. Like I feel like I'm very comfortable in that. So that's the stuff I could kind of feel comfortable streaming with. And I've only done that so far. So I was like, okay, I got this. Like it's not that hard. If I don't know something, I'll just Google it or open the docs or something like that and be able to find it pretty quickly. But I started using Phaser, which is a game engine API in JavaScript. So I figured I got this. And when I opened up the docs, I realized I did not got this. I just didn't understand the API well enough. So I think I had a couple streams like back to back where I just felt really bad afterwards, because it was like an hour of me pouring through the docs trying to understand how to use the API, which was, I don't know. I'm not used to doing any kind of that kind of like graphic stuff. I'm used to doing like Angular stuff where you're adjusting values and you're hooking into change detection. It's like a whole other different paradigm, I think, going into the stuff I'm looking at. So
yeah, game engines has always been very, very interesting, just because
have you done any game web development like Unity or anything like that?
No, but I mean, I've done a thing back in college. It was a very, very basic game where you had a cannonball inside of a cannon, and the goal is to shoot a target or shoot a particular bouncing ball that's going around the field. Yeah. And one of the requirements of this class was don't draw the ball when it's not on screen. So we were doing very, very basic game engine mechanics of what it means to be multi-threaded and that type of stuff, and what happens to or figuring out collision detection and that type of stuff in order to do that. Yeah. But nothing like using Unity or something more advanced than that. So parts of it was really turning into, so this is how a game engine actually works. Of they just have like a giant while loop that's constantly painting the screen, and you have to use some type of background engine in order to say on this position of the screen, paint it here, and then move on forward. Which from the web perspective doesn't seem possible, because JavaScript is single threaded, unless you use web workers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, so the way I had kind of looked to tackle this issue, I think the thing I got hung up on was I have like two sprites on the screen or on the canvas. I just wanted to move one like close to the other. So because it's an RPG game, I want to like each move should have different instructions. Like if I go tackle someone, I should go move them right next to them, like do some sort of attack animation. They should like do a hurt animation, and then they should go back. So I'm kind of like trying to build up this API. So I just interface with that from the perspective of like my app, and like that API is going to do anything it needs to do with Phaser. So just like doing stuff like returning a promise when like passing a step, sort of like you would with like NGRX or something like that. Here's an action. Let me know when this action's completed, and I'll go to the next one. So just like returning a promise to listen to. So as soon as I can just await it and then go on to the next. So I mean, I feel like the API is what I want it to be. It's just filling out that API. I was completely lost on, man. Like trying to get that understood. It's just like, I don't know. The whole idea of object-oriented stuff, man, does not work well with me. I swear, I feel like it's very I don't know. It feels like it's meant to be confusing. I don't know. You seem like you like the OOP stuff. Unless I'm reading you wrong.
There are principles that don't make sense in today's world. Just because I think most of the applications that we're building fit very, very well towards a more functional paradigm than it does OOP paradigm. Yeah. Because you're really dealing with state manipulation and state machines and that type of stuff. But there are some basic principles of OOP. I still think that makes sense for anybody to use still. So I'm for OOP in their particular areas, but I'm also aware of the functional programming and that type of principles, and know when to use one versus the other.
Yeah. Any kind of though, like any kind of inheritance, any kind of class inheritance, I'm just like, ugh. Like I feel like maybe it would work out well if you could get that whole mental model into your head of all the class structure.
Yeah.
You know what each piece is for, but in practice it ends up being like, oh, I got 12 text editors open trying to like chain
you go up the
together.
tree and then you go back down the tree and then you're like, all right, this class and this class inherit the same tree.
Oh, and just
What's
debugging
different?
it, just debugging
Right.
it. It's like, well, I want to put it like a breakpoint in here into this class, but this is inheriting from that class. That class is inheriting from this class. So it's actually inheriting from a couple. So I really don't know how this method's getting called. And if I put a breakpoint in it on the like super class, on the abstract class or whatever, the one it's extending, then I get it all over the place. I don't know which one's calling it. So,
but that's just probably it isn't probably a problem with OP, but probably people's understanding of how to use inheritance.
Sure, that's maybe fair. The sort of the functional model I think I really like, which maybe isn't that much at odds with OOP, but just like having some function, like at the end of the day, it's a function. Right? Mm-hmm. Like you can distill these things down to pure functions, but declaring the function, this has one responsibility. It takes these inputs and it does this, and then you're out. If you want to build a class or you want to build some object, just bring in that function. Like just use that function and like let it do its stuff. And like I wouldn't even bind it. Probably I'd just like maybe even just call the function, just because it feels like a straighter line. You know?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of RxJS, and I'm a big fan of how they have their everything organized. Yeah. All their pipe operators are just functions that they export. I love that, just because I don't like have to really think about, oh, do I got to instantiate this class, or is it a static class or a static method on that class, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, especially in the JavaScript and Python world, I'm for the more functional paradigms. But there's definitely a case where Angular kind of forces you into a more OP paradigm, just because I think
components are only available as classes, same as services.
So. Is that even true with Ivy? Could you write a function that generates?
It would be really cool. I've not seen it, so I don't know. I don't want to speak for Ivy. I haven't spelunked into that field yet, but I think like in principle maybe something like that would be possible, and it would be really cool to figure it out. But a lot of the stuff, I feel like if you go to a typical Angular project, because dependency injection's there, a lot of people will make services to just wrap pure functions, which maybe makes sense for like discoverability, but
potentially.
But I would prefer to just like export a pure function from a file and then just import it. Like it's hard because I feel like that's harder to find for someone who's maybe not familiar with it. But they're like they know I've got this dependency injection system. There's probably something in there. If I just start like typing around and seeing what autocomplete gets me, maybe I could find that service.
At least for me, the dependency injections for the most part has helped me from a testing perspective, because I'm in the mantra of I mock everything, and even if I use Jest, it's more difficult to mock a module that I depend on than is worth the fight. So
I think if you can like gronk the Just stuff and figure out how to just mock a function coming in, I think it's just as easy. It's just maybe not as familiar.
Yeah,
I would posit, but I don't know.
But for me, just say, hey, here's an object, and here's a just NF or FN.
Yeah,
done. Don't need to think about it.
So when you mock, Josh, are you using? Do you create like a fake class, or do you just use value inside of your test bed?
For the most part, I'm using it. It depends on sometimes the structure of the test, but primarily using use value.
Okay, that's what I like. I like just declaring object literals for each one of the different things. I feel like if you go that way, it really helps you understand the whole framework going on with Angular too. Like until I started mocking things out that way, I didn't really get dependency injection. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like I had some mental model, and that's the great thing about Angular is I feel like you get this mental model really easily. That's like 90% of the way there. That's why you hit the test bed. But you don't get that other 10%. That other 10% is really elusive. But getting into the test bed, I feel like it gets you like 98% of the way there. So it's still like that elusive 2%. But yeah, the people want to know, Josh, why do you hate the test bed? Is there a story here?
Well, more so, like I've been bugging Brandon that NGRX should be testable without the test bed, because if you talk to I think his name is Shy. Yes, he's the one that did the magician act for NGConf this year.
Yeah. So he's got a whole course or a whole platform around testing, which is pretty cool. I know when I first joined Narwhal, we actually were forbidden from writing unit tests. So it's like a thing, but I was like, I got a nerd about this. So Shai, where are you at?
So my biggest thing is the testbed, especially if you use components, injects a lot of the Angular stuff that you're not aware of. So from a unit test perspective, when you really just want to test your one functionality, you might trigger side effects within the Angular framework that you weren't intending. As well, I just think from a service perspective or a pipe perspective, testbed has been known to be a performance issue, even in version 9 and version 10. They said this is supposedly fix it, but I haven't seen the performance boost in terms of that actually working. So
wait, where's the performance problems coming from?
Testbed.
From the testbed. Okay, just from any kind of testbed.
Yeah. The Angular testbed. So my evaluation was I work for a healthcare company. And all I did was I replaced all the tests in Karma. So this is Karma speaking, not Jess speaking. I replaced all of the testbed in one particular core library from using testbed to just instantiate as class. I
think at first I was like, okay. And then I was like, wait,
no,
what? And then I'm like, oh, okay. He's trolling us.
So I replaced all of the testbed implementations to just be instantiate new class and only using testbed for more higher level form of testing. Because I still think that's a valuable form of testing, but if you want to build libraries and stuff like that, that's going to be shared between your classes or your components and services. I think that's very, very applicable to be more unit test driven than integration driven, or a higher level form of testing. Because you're supposed to get quicker results with that. It should be quickly repeatable instead of wait for the CI system to kick off. So by doing that, we saw a 25% reduction in testing time. And we're talking about 5,000 tests that are running for this one particular module.
That's huge, actually.
Right. So this was prior to V9. I think this was V7 or V8. We've replaced Phantom with Chromium, and we saw, and then did this reduction, or did this testbed removing a testbed from very, very basic tests that could be done without testbed. And we saw a 25% decrease. So there's something to look at from those results.
Well, you don't use injection. You don't need the testbed. So there you go.
Well, plus then you're truly testing your logic instead of potentially some Angular magic that you're doing. Again, not dismissing the importance of integration tests. It's just we all should be mindful of what form of testing that we're doing.
Let me ask you about this. When you think integration tests, what are you thinking? Are you thinking like kind of what Brandon was saying here, where we bring in all the components, like the actual components, and compile it all?
No. So it's as soon as you rely on the testbed for any of your form of testing or booting up Angular, that's where I declare integration test starting. So you could technically talking to like Surma from Google Dev Team or the Chrome Dev Team and stuff like that. They use Karma and they still test against Chrome. And I asked them, how are you classifying that as a unit test? Because you're actually testing in the environment, not in just like a node or something like that. Yeah. According to unit testing, if you actually look through the philosophy, there's really no declaration of it has to be in this one environment.
Yeah, it's a unit. That unit, it could be that component, it could be a function, it could be anything of n scale. So
So if I want to quickly test my component or my service or something that has like mapping logic or that type of stuff, that stuff that's being polyfilled, I can much more quickly test that through this form of testing in IE11 or Safari or whatever browser I want to test in than I probably could do in was integration testing and that type of stuff, because I wouldn't know really where that failure was.
Right. That makes sense. I don't know. The way I tend to look at things, I think my scale is just adjusted slightly. Like, I think a unit test for me is anything like like using the test bed or not. I think that's kind of irrelevant. Like a unit could easily just be a component. I wouldn't probably do anything in there where I'm actually like bringing in other actual components or services. I don't think I would ever actually do that with like Jest or Karma. So I would just like carve out my little units and say, does this work as I expect? At least in terms of like how it's going to affect everything else it depends on. And then I say, okay, that kind of works. What that's going to give me is some confidence that things are working the way I think they're working. I'll probably find some bugs in there doing things that way. So
tests has, at least for me, tests doesn't prove something's working. It's prove it doesn't break in these circumstances.
Sure. I think given if you're, I don't want to say if you're thorough enough, like that's not fair.
You're never going to be thorough.
Yeah, you're never going to be 100% complete unless you're doing something like XState, where you're like you can actually mathematically test for all possible edges.
But programming isn't based on that anymore. It's a science, not a mathematics.
It could be though. So have you seen have you seen XState, the lib?
Oh no. But I think it was a go-to presentation when they were building the idea of programming. Originally, it was supposed to be mathematical based, so you can use whatever mathematical formula to prove that this is going to work in this way. But in the 1970s, when this all happened, it just became a science instead of a mathematics. So they just proved that we're only proving that this is not breaking for these circumstances. We'll never be able to prove this is 100% working.
Yeah. Well, that's part of like writing our own tests too. Right. Like if in this world you're describing, where like programming is based on mathematics, we're actually using discrete math and finite automata to define all these things and to define At that point, we could literally write code that would be self-tested.
Yes.
Like we wouldn't have to write our own unit tests. The way we approach things now, we do have to go back and write our own unit tests because it's not clear what it's supposed to do. But there's there's this project called XState. I don't know if it's a library or a framework or what you would call it, but it's super interesting. It's like building a finite automata. So building a state machine where you define everything pretty much like with JSON and saying this is how this gets built. There's tooling around it to like see the state machine and where you are in the state machine at every given point in time. And it's really neat. But one of the cool things about it is you can get to that point where we're talking about where I don't think you can get to all the way, like you're not actually mathematically defining it still. You're still using JavaScript to define it. But you can get to the point where you're using code gen to say, let's make sure every possible state of this state machine is covered. And then you can say with some confidence, I'm testing every edge. So I don't know. I don't know if that's fully covered, but it's a really cool idea.
I would like for us to get to that point, because it just would be nice to be able to say this workflow is 75% confident that, or not 70%, 95% confident that this is going to break in any of these conditions.
Yeah.
But I don't think we'll ever get to that, because our basic language, assembly and C, has goto in it. So because they have goto, it can never be mathematically defined. Right.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I think there's something there. I think there's something really important there worth exploring some more. But going back to our original thing, like I think what you said originally was a fair point, where you're making sure it's not breaking in some way that you can think of. At least that's what you're writing the test for.
We have these test conditions. We know for a fact that these are not, this service, this unit isn't going to break in these circumstances. Which again, from like a developer that's reading your source code, if I know the tests are written well, I don't want to say fully baked out, but at least written well, I can at least go to your test and say, oh, my condition is, that's the test I care about. Oh, okay, so it's not going to break anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like all these things, like for most projects, a unit is like a Jenga block somewhere in this tower, and so like the unit tests really don't give me that much confidence that like my Jenga tower is not going to fall over. It tells me that the one block I built here is going to behave the way I want it to behave.
Yes,
that's what I'm trying to get at, and anything more than that, it's like. That's why I wouldn't want to invest too much into these unit tests. Actually, like it's super helpful making sure like you cover your bases, making sure this is actually working the way I want, which can be tricky with Angular and change detection sometimes, and especially if you get ArcsJS in there. I always make sure I write tests for ArcsJS stuff, because it's just tricky. Like it's super powerful and super comprehensive, but
you never know. You never know if there's something subscribing it twice or something like that.
Exactly. Is this emitting properly? Is this emitting where and when and what I want it to?
So like the pyramid, the testing pyramid, the highest point is end-to-end testing, and that gives you the highest point of confidence, because if those tests work, you know your system's going to work.
Yes.
So the problem is you lose visibility of those individual units of breaking.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and the problem with unit tests, you can find very, very precisely if something breaks, it's right here. But you could have like there's all those memes that were on Twitter where it's like all my unit tests are working, but there's like the doors that like are opening into each other. Like
you need without context.
Right. But for me, the unit test is like anything you do with Jest. Or Karma, and I wouldn't like I said, never bring in like another actual service or another actual component into that. Like just always mock those, and then you're always testing your units. Integration tests for me would then be using something like Cypress or Protractor to run the whole thing and say, and maybe like an integration test would be like mocking your backend services calls. And that would be an integration test to make sure, does the app work? Or maybe if you have it separated out nice enough, a lib, an Angular lib that you could just go off of. So
I think for the most part, there's like some like fine-tune things that you and I can chat about, and we'll probably never agree on. But I think overall we agree with the general premise of unit testing is this form of testing, and then maybe some sprinkling depending on who you're talking to, but it's this form of testing, and then integration testing is definitely this.
Because I would be hesitant to call anything in Jest or Karma integration testing is what I'm getting at. So,
but you could do it.
Maybe it sounds horrible.
do exactly what Brandon just said in the chat, which is bring in all the components, and then you don't have to do routing.
But then you gotta compile it all every time.
But that's a form of integration test.
I guess so.
I guess so. Is where I'm at.
Okay, fine. But okay, so getting into NX, if you could do NX and like you've got like a feature lib, something like that, you could always do something where you either set up Storybook or you just like write your own standalone app. That's all it does is like bring in that lib and just stand it up by itself. And then it's super easy to write these. A maximum of 3 seconds, I believe, Brandon.
Yeah, it shouldn't. If it's at minimum 3 seconds, that's too long for me.
I don't know. 3 seconds. 3 seconds is kind of a high bar to clear. But anyways, getting away from that. Like you can always do that. Like that's fine as a unit test or as an integration test too. End-to-end test, I really don't think you're actually doing unless you're standing up your actual servers.
Yes, completely agree. It's in the name.
Yeah, exactly.
You are going from this end to that end. It's pretty well defined.
Yeah, and that's hard to do, especially if you're like, well, if you've got like a whole microservice web out there that you got to stand up to do, that's a whole thing. If you're using something like Auth0 or Firebase or I don't know. It's hard. Like it's just you don't really get to it. With NX you can kind of, but like unless you're writing your own auth, like are you really standing up stuff? Or maybe you could hit it against like some QA auth server or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, again, you're not, at least in my head, you're not really, for end-to-end testing, you're not really testing, or standing up, I think is probably the poor interpretation, or maybe a more engineered ideology. But me using Protractor to hit a live server that has the latest code, that's going all the way down to the database, whatever is, if it's AWS or whatever, and then coming back with the response as a user would experience it. That makes sense to me is a end-to-end test. So you could use whatever technology you want. Yeah,
that makes sense. Alternatively, though, I think so. I think that if anything's, or the proper tool. Or maybe that's not even what I want to say. If you're going to do a unit test on a component, you could use Gesture Karma. I think you could also use Cypress, though, very effectively to unit test a component. It would just take a little bit more setup. Like it would be possibly more setup than using the test bed, but I think you could actually test it more like you would tend to test your stuff. You know, like if you're just running it,
if the definition is isolated to that one class or that one component, you can probably do that. Especially as didn't Angular Material or the Angular component team, or not Angular component team, but the Angular component library included hardness or the harness library.
Harness, yeah,
that's built on top of Protractor.
I actually haven't looked into that much, but yeah, I think it was something like that. But man, I really with NX you've got like these plugins that we have for Storybook that can let you do stuff very similar. Where it was, I think it was based on some work I had done originally, and then I kind of handed it off to Isaac, and he made it into the plugins and made them into nice stuff. But yeah, it was super cool. You can just run like some schematic. You're going to generate your stories, and you're also going to generate Cypress tests to run against those stories. And if you're using like knobs and stuff like that, you can also go in and change stuff as you do it inside of your Cypress tests, and all that stuff goes back and forth, and it's pretty cool. But I don't know. I kind of wish we had written our own. It would have been too much of an investment. But there's just something about Storybook that doesn't sit super well with me. Like it feels like you don't have enough control over what's going on. I'm
trying to remember the AngularJS library that everyone used, because the Angular team used it. Was it Degener or something like that?
Maybe. I know there's like there's something. What was it? Angular Playground? Oh, Jenny. Yes. Okay, so this is a Jenny was a whole other thing. I think this was for like generating docs based off source code.
Yeah. Which could be a form of integration test.
Yeah, I guess so. It's pronounced Jenny.
Oh, Jenny. I see D. What can I say? D Jenny. I don't know.
Jenny. It's like a genie, right? It's the gin, but that's like with the DJ. I don't know. Let's just call it Jenny.
When I think of Jenny, I think of generator. Yeah, there it is.
Oh. I was thinking Forrest Gump when you said Jenny.
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 I love you, Jenny. I love Forrest Gump.
Yeah. So we with the project I was doing that was using like Storybook and all this stuff, we actually did use Jenny too to go ahead and like generate documentation for these components and put them into Storybook and do all this stuff. So it was kind of cool to work on all that and to get it all set up. But I don't know. I really wish we had done something without like just writing our own, almost like a harness, kind of like what I imagined the CDK did. Just like, and all it would be, I would think, would just be some schematics, some NX schematics to just write a new app and throw it in your apps and say, hey, this is now your end-to-end test app. There's like 5 people who know how it works. Nice. Jeff Cross is one of them because he helped me get that stuff set up. Maybe I'm like a fourth of a person that knows how it works because I've done it before, but I'd have to reacquaint myself for sure.
I remember going through the JS doc to set up Jenny. It was nightmarish.
Rough. It's rough for sure. Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities there. Have you taken Kent C. Dodd's course on testing trophy by any chance? I think that's where like, the testing pyramid idea comes from. That's why I was curious. But.
Maybe. Well, I don't know if the testing pyramid came from there. I don't know how old this ideology or this document.
I'm not super familiar either. I think his term is testing trophy. So maybe testing pyramid didn't come from him.
Well, the testing trophy is the idea of there's not much unit tests, there's not much end-to-end tests, there's a lot of integration tests. Which is why the trophy makes more sense because you're very, very wide in the middle, not so much on the top or bottom.
Gotcha. Oh, well. So these two things are actually at odds: the testing pyramid versus the testing trophy. Yeah,
but I don't want to say all too much.
It's just where the emphasis lies is a bit different.
Seems like. Because it's really a question. Again, I think it's getting to the point of what do you classify as an integration test versus a unit test, and then how much emphasis should you do one over the other? Those are two separate definitions that you can come together and define whatever type of pyramid or object that you want to use. As long as it's not a snow cone, everything's fine.
An inverse pyramid. That seems purposely at odds with the pyramid.
Exactly.
Yeah, I maybe go to an inverse pyramid. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing it, but the end-to-end tests don't seem that they're that much more expensive than a unit test, especially if you can parallelize them. So I don't know. That's where I'm at. So,
but that's my opinion on testbed. Testbed is slow and it can add too much magic to your unit test. So I rather just say new class. And for the most part, I'm doing that for everything I'm touching. And but I still have a integration test that does test, hey, does this actually load up in the test bed? Yeah. Because that still proves that it's substantiated through Angular.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's something about like if you have like a real end-to-end test suite set up, like it's like fully end-to-end. And then if you ever have some sort of bug that actually appears in production, it seems like you could do, depending on how much you invest into this, like you could actually literally generate a test that's going to do that, recreate that bug for you and say, this was the intended results and this is what actually happened. And then you can go and work on your code until you get your green light. And then you can say, okay, this is done. So that's why I like the end-to-end test idea. But
well, I also like the idea of actually running your end-to-end suite in production, because that gives you stabilization of your environment instead of just guessing at or based on server noise or whatever to determine what's your behavior. You know, like I agree to the philosophy or the mindset that end-to-end test gives you the highest percentage of form of confidence that your system is working according to business design. I totally agree with that. So if that's the case, I might as well push into production so that way I know that these suites are working.
Yeah.
Instead of relying potentially on customers giving me feedback or relying on some I'm in AWS a lot, so CloudWatch or some type of metric notice system. I can just run those test suites and I know for a fact my system is working.
Yeah.
Or you could be AWS or not AWS, Netflix, and just throw in KS Monkey and shut down the service randomly, and never know if your server is actually up or your production environment is actually stabilized or not.
Why not? Why not? But yeah, so going, taking the steps all the way back, we were talking about NGRX. One thing I would love to see from the test, from the NGRX test stuff, like that from the store test stuff, is it's great for so many things. Overriding selector is awesome. Being able to just import the module and stick it into your providers, awesome. The one thing I wish I had more control over is the if override selector could take an observable or like a representation of an observable, like a marble diagram, because I've had several occasions where I need to have a selector return one thing initially and then change again, something like that. And if you want to do that, like you can still do like the override once, which is fine, but it's not as nice as just being able to use the test scheduler and say, here's what this selector is going to give you. If there were and it's very hard to do that, right? Like because you're saying store select and then pass in selector, it's very hard to like pinpoint that one observable and say this is what I want it to look like. So you're kind of stuck with override once over and over again, which is, I don't know, it works, but
again, because of the way I do my testing, I became very, very familiar with how Jess and Karma uses how you create spies and how to mock those values. And then for the most part, though, I'm just overriding the pipe method and providing my own observable in order to do all that form of testing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because it's going to return a subscribable object, so I just need to provide a subscribable object.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I've definitely done a lot of that stuff too. I remember, what was it? We were doing something where like we had to attach. I don't know. We had to like mock out an NGRX store on the window object. I don't know if this sounds familiar to you at all, Josh. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But we were mocking it out on the window object, and like we were mocking out a dispatch method on it and mocking out a select method on it, and we got it to work. Like and it worked first try after like slapping together this weird JSON in like 20 lines, and I felt very accomplished with that.
I don't want to ask who reviewed it. Did it get into the code base?
Yes. It was just a mock. I mean,
okay,
that's all it is.
I guess I'm fine with that.
Well, yeah. Sometimes I think it was on code that was going to get removed in not too long. So it's kind of like okay, but yeah.
I'm usually in the mindset of if it's short lived, so I kind of had the mindset of short-lived solutions usually becomes long-lived solutions.
Mm-hmm.
However, because I know probably what you're talking about.
For those that don't know, we're working. We don't actually work together, but we work on the same larger project. So that's where we're coming from.
I'm fine with it because I know that short-term solution is a short-term solution. I hope.
Yeah, like normally you would never be doing that, like actually accessing the window object and doing stuff with it. But
or the global object, in potentially in this perspective.
Right. But in the context where that's actually what we're doing, mucking it out that way doesn't seem all that bad. I don't know.
No, it probably makes me sad though.
Yeah, I still remain feeling accomplished though that we were able to do this and do it in one go. It felt cool. I thought for sure it was like I've got to be doing this wrong because you've got to return select to be an observable. So we were mocking out we wrote our own observable library in 2 lines. It's just subscribes and passes in a mock function inside of that subscribe, but still kind of cool. So
Shai created a mock observable library.
Oh, did he? I don't know.
Yeah,
I always use the test scheduler from ArcsJS,
okay.
And that's super solid. So that's what I always go to. But yeah, you just got to know when to flush. That's the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, dude, we've been going at it for an hour 20 minutes. It's been fun.
Should we do an awkward silent ending? Or
no awkward silence. You have to give there's the drums. I don't get it, Brandon, but yeah. I got to do something with you, Josh. We already found out your types. You're holy. And what?
And we know that my last famous words for all Brandon developers is always
always
don't be following the words of Miss Frizzle. Don't be afraid to get messy.
Miss Frizzle.
So, I mean, I'm a big fan of Craig Ferguson, which is why I suggested the awkward silence bit.
Oh, I'm not familiar with him, so I don't get it. I'm afraid. But Josh, yeah. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for hanging out. It's been cool. 50 episodes, man.
Congrats, dude. Truly, congrats.
Thanks. I appreciate that. It's been really fun, and part of the fun is just being able to jump on every day and have a cool conversation with someone like you. So,
oh, cool. I'm a cool person.
You are a cool person, and so thank you for coming by and hanging out and talking Angular and testing and all this stuff with me. Things only us nerds get, but yeah. Thanks, man. So yeah, go ahead and wrap it up here, I guess. And yeah, we'll have to get you on again soon, Josh, because this is always fun. It's nice. It's nice as I'm going through this to have sort of regulars on the show. Yeah. I just know we can kind of get on and just talk about some stuff and have a good conversation. So. And
the good thing is we can chat. We can chat beforehand to figure out probably what should we talk about or something like that. Yeah,
for those of you who weren't here, we just jumped out 5 minutes beforehand and we're like, what are we going to talk about? I don't know.
We'll make it entertaining. We're fun people.
Yeah, we'll talk about streaming, maybe some OBS, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm always down for a good conversation just about literally anything for the most part.
Yeah,
I truly believe that people forget about how to have conversations and how to have, even if we might. Don't forget about the subs. Yes, please, people, whoever are here hanging out, make sure you subscribe to Zach and eventually be able to subscribe to myself. But I'm always here to give my best opinions on anything that you probably have on the topic or whatever topic that you probably have. Because I think generally people need to have these kind of conversations to build the best software that they want to do.
Yeah, and just with streaming too, it's really nice to have someone like you on who I feel like we're kind of on these parallel journeys. Trying to figure out our place in the content world and what makes for good content and how are we. I don't know. Super refreshing to hear you talk about how you think about your audience. That's always super cool to hear, Josh, and how you're thinking about, well, maybe this is that high school kid that I once was that just wants to learn more about this stuff and get deeper into it and get an honest view of how this stuff works. I think that's super powerful. So
yeah, I'm not. I love having the Angular community involved with my stream, but I realize that as I'm getting older, And I say that even though it makes it sound like I'm like much older than I am, but I'm only 26. I want to make sure that we talk about bringing up the next generation, because I think I'm already leaving the door, or I'm already on the exit on the way out, because technology is moving so fast. So we gotta inspire the next generation to do the right things and the best things.
Inspire the next generation to do the right things, while also ourselves hunkering down and getting writing really bad code for their job security, so that we can be just the old curmudgeons eventually too.
Don't forget to be a COBOL developer, people.
Don't forget. Oh, one day, what if they talk about Angular developers that way?
I mean, people are talking about AngularJS that way.
As they should be. Sweet. All right, dude. Well, let's chat after this, and we'll figure out when to get you on next. But let's run the credits, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.
See you, everyone.